What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of The Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And I also like to start these off by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only, and to always do your own research, to come to your own conclusions, to make your own decisions, to have your own answers, to be your own person. And I believe in your ability to do so because you're doing so right now. So, with that being said, I'm going to jump straight into today's episode. So, what I want to talk about in today's episode is purpose. So I have the matter of fact, I don't even want to say that. So I feel like it's a fundamental human trait that if you like happen to go through like existential crisis or something like that, or you just go through something a little bit similar to that, then you feel like you need a sense of purpose. Like there's something in you that's like, I don't know what I'm here for. What am I here for? What's the point? What's the point of being here? And I kind of want to address what you could do to find your purpose. And I'm not going to say that this is going to like you're going to find your purpose by the end of this episode, but I do want to talk about what it means to have that occur and what it even means to me, just because like I feel like nothing in this world has inherent value until you give it to it, until you put value there. So when it comes to purpose and all that jazz, genuinely, I don't think that there's a sense of purpose. Like, there's no purpose for you, there's no function, but it doesn't mean that, like, there's no purpose for you, if that makes sense. Like, if I was like, okay, this is a lanyard that has a purpose, right? It holds keys or it holds something at the end of it, but it's not really useful if it's not being used in that way. You know what I mean? Like, this, I could just use this as an accessory. So the value that I give it, I put meaning to it, even though it does have a set purpose. And I think that people do have a set purpose that's given to you from like a divine energy. Like I don't believe that this life is random or chaotic in any way, just because I feel like all of those, like the chaos that we experience as a human being, is just us not being able to see the overview of what is actually happening. Because if you look at the way that like things are manipulated, like if you look at the wind blowing through the trees go chaotic. They just go sporadically everywhere, or at least it seems that way, right? They're swaying with the wind. But the wind is taking a current, and that is its function. It's the wind. That's what the wind does. It goes through, it's a breeze, and it goes through the literal air that you're breathing. And so just because I say that things don't have a specific purpose or a function doesn't mean that you don't have a specific purpose or function. You just have to figure that out for yourself. And that could be, you know, found through different that could be found through different avenues. Like for example, I found my purpose through my magic yantra square, which I always talk about in these podcasts. And one of these seasons, I think it was season 5, I only talk about the magic number square. And they do that in, I believe, India. And it's to kind of get in tune with the universe and to see what numbers are going to benefit you and what numbers are not going to benefit you. And numbers are like the language of the universe. Not 100%, obviously, but it's like a dialect to the way that the world communicates with you. And it communicates through letters, it communicates through actions, it communicates through numbers, like I said. And so it's all about finding yours, but usually you already feel yours. So, but it's a deeper, like a really profound deepening, or like a deep rooted feeling. For example, for me, I was always somebody who was interested in spirituality. And this came out in the sense of like wisdom. Like I always told people like it's okay, everything's gonna be okay. And I always gave people a sense of security within their spirit. And I've always had people tell me that I was wise and blah blah blah. And through that, I was able to like piece together like, oh, my purpose here is to be a spiritual being and to show people that being a spiritual being doesn't mean that you stop living your life and you just fucking meditate in a ditch somewhere. It's you right now, and it's what you're constantly doing, just like how you want to know your purpose. You want to know your purpose because you want to know where you fit in this lifetime. And you want to know your purpose because the people traits, or like the ego, right? The animalistic traits in you wants to know. It wants to have a purpose. That's why we go to work, and that's why, like, when there was like a 40-hour work week, um when that started, 40-hour work weeks, everybody was super happy because they're like, I have a purpose. Now I have to be here at this time, at this day, for 5 days out of the week. And that felt good because it felt like a sense of responsibility. Although now it's more of a burden, and now it doesn't really get us anywhere because we're in a different time frame. Excuse me. So you really have to just evaluate your own spiritual, at like I was gonna say aptitude, but it's kind of like an aptitude test. Determine what your strengths are, determine what you are really good at, determine what feels good when you have that thing done. Like for me, I remember one time calling my sister in a moment of clarity on a Sunday because they had called me previously that Saturday, but I was not able to answer because I was with my friends and we're doing bad kid shit because, like I was a bad kid at the time. Still a bad kid at the time. So, or this time. And so I called the next day and I was like, hey, like, I just feel the need to, like, tell you this. And she was like, what? And I'm like, I feel like you forget to love yourself. And I feel like you forget to love yourself because of, like, XYZ and, like, big, huge rant, like, it lasted, like, an hour. And I was just making her cry. But it was, like, good tears, like, tears that, like, she needed to hear this. And that's why it brought her to tears because it meant so much coming from somebody who loves her. And like I have no I don't have anything else to give besides love. Like obviously there's moments where I am pissed off and I could punch somebody in the face, but I don't, you know? So I don't have anything to give besides love, and love is what feels good to give to me. And it's what fills my soul up with a sense of purpose. And it's what makes me feel good. Like it's what makes me feel happy, it's what makes me feel complete. And I realized that that's my purpose. My purpose is to enhance people's spirits. And then I did my magic number square yantra, and that also said that the only thing that excites me is spiritual things, or a sense that it's unworldly. The only things that, or like the sense of enthusiasm that I feel, it was like different numbers for different things, right? And one of them was for happiness and enthusiasm. Where do you get that from? And in my number, it was a 7. And 7 is a number of spirituality. And that's where I get my enthusiasm from. That's where I get my energy from. That's what recharges me. This is what recharges me. So I realized, in not necessarily in that moment, right? It took me a couple of years, and it took me a little bit of like going places, doing things, traveling. It took me, going to work and having shit happen to realize that this is what recharges me. This is what feels good. This is where I fit. This is my strength. And I know it's my strength because I get a lot of validation from other people who feel the same way. Like just the other day when I had my guest on the podcast, on the video version of this podcast, she was like, "Oh, you're so wise," and somebody like everybody could tell that like there was something about you. There's something there that you're so wise and you're so smart. Like there's something there. We can't really put our finger on it, but we can feel it. And that is my energy. Like where I get my energy from is spirituality. And so because it's what recharges me and it's what excites me, it gets me in a place where like I'm excited to go do really mundane tasks. Like I'm excited to go to the DMV and wait because then I can sit there and practice meditating, even though there's a billion people in the room and they're probably gonna look at me weird. Like I'm not gonna sit there with my eyes closed, but I'll sit there with my little. I had a bead bracelet that was called. I don't remember if it was a mala, I don't remember, but in Buddhism they have like a really long beaded necklace, and it's for 108 beads, and that's how much you would recite a mantra. But for me, because I'm not particularly Buddhist, I would sit there and use my bracelet one, and I'd sit there and I'd reaffirm something that I want to be true about myself, or like something that I feel is not true that is true, that I need to get myself to feel true. Like I'd sit there and be like, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, and just do that over and over and over while counting the beads. And then as soon as I'd get to the end, I'd reverse it and go backwards, and that's what I would sit and do. And those are the types of things that, like, my having a sense of purpose has made me feel open to, like, should I go back to school? Like, I felt like there was no sense of or like a purpose of going back to school, because I was like, I'm just gonna waste a shit ton of time doing something that I could be doing right now, even with no education, because regardless of the education, it's about the experience. You need to have experience versus education. Education is just a stamp on your, documentation that says, hey, we kind of taught this person some stuff, but it doesn't mean that they're actually educated in this subject. Like, if you go, one of the things that I was thinking about going back to school for was to be a therapist or a philosopher. And I realized that I'm already doing those things. The only thing that college would provide me for, or provide me with, is not only more education, more validation, but it would also just put a stamp that says, okay, if you want to work here, this is the stamp that says that you got what they are asking for. But at the same time, if I were to apply to like a clinic, I'd still have to get like 108 hours of experience. And who's gonna want to work 108 hours with no experience? Or like with no pay? Because they can't pay you until they hire you. They won't hire you until you have experience. So I sat there for a long time and I was like, there's no point of me going to school. And it was something that was like, ugh, like I hated the thought of. I was like disgusted and repelled by it. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, it could help me with my patients, because I understand that these are rules because they need order. Like, a place isn't just gonna hire anybody, even if they say, well, I have a lot of experience in this field. They're not just gonna hire you because you say you have experience. And because I know that spirituality is where I get my energy from, it feels good to like sit there and be like, okay, I know why this thing is. So now it feels less tedious. Like, if I wanted to go back to school, I probably could get myself to go back to school and then get a good education and whatnot, And so, anyways, back to topic at hand. How do you find your purpose? What are you good at? What makes you feel happy? What excites you? What particularly excites you? Is that dancing? Is that singing? Is that drawing? Is that telling people that they look good today? Is that making people feel good about themselves? Is that making you feel good about yourself? Is it helping other people? And if it is helping other people, how are you getting yourself to help another person? Does that mean that you do really cute, nice deeds, like walk an old lady across the grass, or walk an old lady across the street, or pick up their groceries for them? Or does it mean going to a nursing home and actually wiping their ass because you feel like you have a sense of purpose there? Or is it something along the lines of, well, I feel happy when I'm helping other people? Does that mean you write really nice things to people and then you give it to them and then you see their reaction? Or does that mean that you go and you buy homeless people food and you give it to them, and that's what fills you with happiness and enthusiasm and excitement? Or is it something like, I love to travel is what gets me so excited, and I can't wait to get on that plane because I know as soon as I'm on that plane, I'm there, I'm already going? Or is it something that you're super excited to go to an amusement park, you're super excited to go watch movies? What is the thing that excites you the most out of everything? What excites you the most? And are you doing that thing? Because if you're not doing what excites you, there's a bit of a problem. And I say a bit of a problem because if you're not using your highest compass to maneuver through this world, there's probably something there. There's probably some sort of blockage. And obviously, there's a lot of people in this world who are like, I feel happy when I'm helping people. Okay, but how are you helping people? What are you doing that will directly make you feel excited? Does that mean, does helping people mean that you travel across the world to go to like a soup kitchen and work in a different country, but you're at a soup kitchen, but it's at a different country because you like to travel and you like to meet new people and you like to like speak a different language? What does that mean to you? What excites you? What is exciting to you? And your education is education. Hold on, wait a minute. Your excitement is your compass to find your soul's purpose. What excites you? And if you don't know that right now, that's why I say it's your compass. Because if you don't know what excites you right here, right now, you might be in denial of something, or you might be at a loss of something. You might not just be able to see clearly. You might just be in a foggy moment. You might be in a moment where you're just clouded. So, when I say that your excitement is your compass, I mean that in every second of the day. What right now, besides everything else, what right now would make you feel so excited to live life? Does that mean going out and doing something like going to the movies or calling a friend? Or does that mean getting in your car and driving, blasting the fucking radio and singing your heart out? What would bring you excitement in today, like right now, that you could do right now? Maybe you're at work and you can't do something that's super duper exciting, but what could you do during your break that would excite you just a little bit? It doesn't have to be like a extreme amount, but what would excite you just a little bit? And the more and 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 more you do that, the more you go down more exciting paths. And the more you kind of align yourself with what you're supposed to be doing. And then it'll snap into like a, you'll just have a moment of like clarity. You're just gonna click something. And you'll sit there and be like, whoa, hold up. This is my purpose. I'm doing it right now. Like, I know a lot of people who love doing music and like they're just really, really good at it. And I love my friends because they're so exciting, but digress. I know this person that does music and he's so freaking good at it. And he's like, this is so easy to me. Like, I don't understand how people are not, better at this type of stuff. And I'm like, it's because it's you. It is your thing. That's you. That's what excites you. I know people who play video games with me who are excited when they play video games and they upload all the time. They make time to upload and that's what excites them. They're like, I love, doing this. I love doing my YouTube videos. I love doing this. I love doing that. I know people who go to school and who are like, I'm so excited to go to class tomorrow because like I've been on break and low key break is boring, but I can't wait to go back to school. And that's what excites them. And so your excitement is just a compass. If you want to find your sense of purpose, just do things that will excite you right here, right now. Even if you're at work, if it means, folding paper into something or drawing, even like, when you were drawing in a class that you were super bored of and you just became a fucking artist, that is because in that moment, that's your passion. And when you find that passion in that moment, you become one with, I don't say the universe, but you become one with your experience until obviously something sucks you back out. But when you're in that experience, that's what people like to call the flow state. And when you're in the flow state, you don't fucking acknowledge the time passing by. You don't even know because you're so in the moment, because you're so captivated by the moment that everything else is just like passing. And the more you can get yourself into that flow state, the easier things just happen for you. And not only the easier things happen for you, but you won't even care that they're happening easily because you're so engulfed by what you're supposed to be doing here. And what you're supposed to be doing here is up to you and it's down to your excitement. What excites you? Does it mean putting on some rollerblades and going rollerblading in, 30-degree weather? Or does that mean going to a skate park after it's just rained? Or does that mean going somewhere while it's snowing, while you're in the middle of a snowstorm? Or does it mean going tanning during winter? Like do something that excites you. It doesn't matter what time it is, what day it is. Just do something that excites you and something that obviously you can do right here. Because the more I'm not gonna sit here and tell you like, oh, if traveling is what excites you, just book a flight, because it can't always be that easy for people, especially if you're already making excuses, or if you're already like, I can't do that, because it's something that is scary. And I'm not gonna sit here and like tell you to push yourself off a cliff. Like, don't do that. So, with that being said, like I said, how to find your purpose, use your excitement. Your excitement is your compass. And once you get to a point where you're like, this is the only thing that excites me, that's how you know you've reached a destination. Like, the only thing that excites me right now is the sense of like growing up and the time I'm gonna spend going through these day-to-day experiences until one day I wake up and I'm not here. I'm not in this car. I'm not in the same car. And one day I'm gonna wake up and I'm not gonna be wearing the same beanie. And I'm not gonna be using the same equipment. And I'll be, in a room in my house. Sorry. I'll be in a room in my house doing what I love to do. Because I'm doing it right now. And because I know that if I keep up with what I love to do, it's gonna keep up with me. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful in any way, shape, and form. Obviously, take everything that I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not your life, I'm not your shoes. So, take everything that I say with a grain of salt. Like I said, these are for entertainment purposes only. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. I upload Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. And if spirituality, psychology, philosophy, science, and self-help are some things that you're interested in, I'd recommend subbing or following. And you can find my podcast audio version on every podcast platform, and the video version of this is on YouTube. So anyways, yeah, thanks for tuning in and tapping in, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.